Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, April 6, 2021 meeting of the Rockland Board of Selectmen. Please direct your attention to Selectman Larry Ryan for the Pledge of Allegiance. Larry, do the honors.
Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I think somebody's watching the meeting at home on TV because we got the sound delay coming over. Okay. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded by WRPS for playback on Comcast Channel 14 and Verizon Channel 31. It's also available live online at WRPSRockland.com and within 24 hours via video on demand at WRPS Rockland YouTube. Please go to www.WRPSRockland.com for further information. First on the agenda, community announcements. Doug?
Thanks, Mike. I just have one brief announcement tonight from the town clerk's office. The town clerk just wanted me to remind the public that the last day to be eligible to participate and vote at the annual town meeting is April 13th, which is a Tuesday at 8 p.m. So Tuesday, April 13th, 8 p.m. is the last day to register to vote for annual town meeting. That's all I have, Mike.
Thank you. Okay, before we get going, I just want to identify the people that are in the meeting as part of open meeting laws. As myself, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Karen Nyman, Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Larry Ryan, Selectman, Mike Mullen, Selectman, Rich Penny, Selectman, Rich Harris, Chairman of the Capital Planning Committee, Dave DeCoste, State Representative, Christine, you are CDBG, Stacey Callahan, Human Resources, Town of Rockland, Doug Lapp, Town Administrator, Town of Rockland, Jared Valenzola, and Sandy Wright, Plymouth County Commissioners, David Taylor, Highway Superintendent, Jen Constable, Assistant Town Administrator, Town of Rockland, Joel Point, Superintendent of Water Department, Senator John Keenan, John Llewellyn, Chief of Police, Town of Rockland, and Crystal Cameron. Who are you here for?
I'm with Abington Rockland Water Department.
Okay, Crystal Cameron from the Abington Rockland Water Department. Okay, so now we're in open meeting compliance. First on the agenda, next on the agenda. Oh, actually, Doug, under community announcements, were we going to go to Representative DeCoste and Senator Keenan at this point so that they can, and the commissioners as well?
I think that would make sense, Mike.
Perfect. All right, so we'll go with the Senator Keenan first.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to see you. Hope everybody is doing well. And reason I'm here tonight is that to say, I don't know what would say to Mike Mullen, goodbye, see you soon, or whatever the case may be. But just wanted to thank him for his service to the town of Rockland, most recently as a member of the board, and then prior to that, obviously on the school committee. And Mike was a legislative aide in my office a few years back, and there was no doubt then that he had a real interest in government and that it was going to be something he would pursue as a career. And he's done that through those positions in the town and now over in the town of Dighton. So all good things for him. And so I just want to say thank you to him and present him with an official Senate citation. My guess is he may have walked out of the office one point with one of these and maybe filled it on his own at some date, but nonetheless, we will.
I walked out of the office with a few other things, Senator, too. But
yeah, that's what I imagine. I haven't been able to find those pens. I think you took all the pens that had the Commonwealth seal on them.
Well, the pens, the keys to the bathroom, I still actually have in my top drawer here for some reason. But yes, yep. They had to
rekey the entire. All the bathrooms in the building because of the keys missing. You get about 20 of them. But really, Mike was just great to work with and always a pleasure. And that's held true as well in his years on the board. So Mike, on behalf of the State Senate, I'd like to present you with an official citation that reads as follows: be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Mike Mullen in recognition of your many years of dedicated and outstanding service to the residents of the town of Rockland. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate, and signed this 6th day of April 2021 by Senate President Karen Spilka, Michael Hurley, Clerk of the Senate, myself, John Keenan, State Senator. Mike, thank you for all your service. Your continued service is going to be a real credit to the town of Dayton. And I don't actually have the citation here. I have a copy of it. The real one is in the mail, so you should get it hopefully tomorrow. But very best wishes. I know we will always stay in contact, and thank you for everything.
So no, and if I could, thank you, John. Your example, the example that I learned from you starting in 2011 in those years that I've worked for you, you know, I mean, you having served as our state senator, but also in a similar role in the city of Quincy. You've always been an example to me. You've been one of my mentors, and I just want to thank you for that, John. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Senator Keenan. Representative Dave DeCoste.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael, Selectman Mullen, I guess we won't be saying that for much longer, but I want to thank you for all the work you've done. I can tell you that you have personally been just a font of information for many things, going backwards and when I first hit the ground in Rockland. And I appreciate your spirit of bipartisanship and working together. And then that's true of the entire Rockland board. You guys are always terrific to work with. Mike, in your case, you've got the, you know, that advantage of going back and having been there forever. And I know you're a close friend of Matt Muratura, excuse me, Rep Muratura. And just working with you has been terrific. So I appreciate all the past work and all the future work, because I know you're not going away on the town, on behalf of the town of Rockland. And we have a brief citation from the behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, our House of Representatives. And this reads, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Michael Mullen in recognition of your 5 years of service to the town of Rockland as a member of the Rockland Board of Selectmen and your many years of service to the entire Rockland community. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future and good fortune and continued success in all your endeavors. Signed the 6th day of April by both the Speaker of the House and myself. And I'd just like to say good luck in Dayton. I'm familiar with Dayton a little bit. And I wish you luck down there. It's a great community. And I know that you're going to have a very successful career down there. There's no question. The town can also use your abilities. So I think there's no doubt about it. They picked the right guy, and you're going to do well by them. No doubt about it.
So no, and thank you, Rep. And I mean, I've always, I mean, we, you know, sometimes, as you know, Rep, our politics haven't always aligned. But one of the things, and I think it really speaks to, you know, where we've been and where we are as Rockland, is that really has never prevented us, either individually or as a board, working together and really making a lot of good progress. So, so I just want to thank you for everything, you know, our work, the relationship that we have and all your work for Rockland. It definitely is really tremendous, Rep. And, you know, Dayton has got a glimpse, you know, of my work so far. What I don't think they knew that they signed up for, Rep, was the sense of humor that I think I have and that I like to think I've brought down there. But that's certainly been interesting too. So, but thank you, Rep. I really appreciate it.
Good luck, Mike.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Representative DeCoste. Commissioner Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How's my connection? Is it okay right now?
Great.
Great. Commissioner Wright did have to duck out. Senator Keenan, I'll attest and I'll confirm, Mike, I also have plenty of State House bathroom keys as well from my time up there. I actually recently just found them. But a good segue, Mike and I, both being from Rockland, lifelong Rockland guys, we both found our way to the state Senate and had successful state careers, although mine ended a lot differently than his did. But over the years, one of the things I've really grown to appreciate is the friendship and true bond that I've shared with you, Mike Mullen. You're a dedicated public servant. Your heart bleeds Bulldog blood and blue. There is almost no one who has committed more time, effort, energy, love, care, and commitment to Rockland than you have. I know, speaking personally, one of the things I really enjoyed running county-wide was having the privilege of meeting so many wonderful public servants all across Plymouth County. And I can say assuredly, you are the gold standard by which I hold so many. Your dedication, your hard work, and your effort. And on behalf of Commissioner Wright, actually had to sneak out to the other meeting we are at. But on behalf of her, on behalf of Chairman Greg Hanley, Treasurer Tom O'Brien, Deputy Treasurer Welch, Frank Basler, and Nancy O'Rourke in the administrator's office, we also want to thank you for your 5 years on the Rockland Board of Selectmen, but all 5 years serving on the Plymouth County Advisory Board, where, of course, I have no doubt, I mean, we had one meeting together. I got elected and you decided to leave, go figure. But I have no doubt that the same passion and dedication that you had for Rockland was shown in Plymouth County, Norfolk County. Both counties in the state are a better place for your service, and the town of Dayton certainly is going to be extremely well served. We don't have citations, unfortunately. You just have my words for you. But again, on behalf of Plymouth County, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your service and your hard work, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if I should call you Commissioner or just Jared.
Only people I don't like have to call me Commissioner, so you can call me Jared.
So no, but thank you. I mean, again, on the same thing, and again, I don't want to belabor the point, but I remember when we started off in this world as, in Rockland government, I won't say politics, but back then we viewed it as politics. And frankly, you and I, Jared, we frankly despised each other. Like, I despise you politically. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, I do remember
I always liked you.
One time, actually, geez, 10, 15 years ago now, when I was both young and immature. Hopefully I've grown up a little bit. Like, and you were over my house for a party, and I actually, you might not know this, but I found out you were there at midnight outside, and I threatened my sister to call the cops because you were over. And you probably didn't know that, but so what it really speaks to, thankfully I've grown up, I like to think, but the relationship and the bond and the friendship that we have, that is what is supposed to happen. That is supposed to be what we do. And that is one of the benefits and really the values I see in being involved like we have been, because we're able to actually the relationships that you develop. Oh, and not only you, but with so many people in Rockland, that's really the hallmark of what we do. And Jared, your feedback is crazy right now, so I don't want to push our luck with your audio connection. But so I just want to say thank you. Like, you are seriously like one of, I consider you one of my closest friends, and I think it really speaks to what we do together for Rockland. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. The feeling's mutual, my friend, and I appreciate that story. Although maybe we could have told it over a beer instead of a open board of selectmen meeting.
It's okay. You know what? Hey,
No, yeah, it's great. Congratulations again. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Valenzola. Okay, if nobody else has anything to say to Mike Mullen, I want to move on to Chief John Llewellyn, just to give the board a quick update on the events of this past week. Chief Llewellyn?
Yeah, thank you, I think. Everybody knows what happened. We're still continuing the investigation. As a matter of fact, we're meeting tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock at the station with everybody that was working that night. We are still attempting to locate the firearm that was involved in the armed robbery. That has not been located yet. The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office is investigating the shooting that happened in Quincy, which ended the life of Mr. Leach. So that investigation is ongoing. So the board knows, and Doug, we have been doing a lot of research recently in equipment to disable our cruisers when the officer is not in it. And I don't want to go into too much detail on that, but we have purchased one already and installed it. And we got a quote today to do 15 other cruisers that we are probably going to get on right away. It's a very simple system, but it would prevent someone from engaging the transmission when they get into the car unless they knew exactly what steps to take to do that, even if the vehicle was running. So, and again, I said it during my press conference, and I continue. I have met with the officer who left the cruiser running that had the cruiser stolen on a couple of occasions now. We're meeting again tomorrow morning. As much as he violated a department policy, as I said before, we employ human beings. I do not fault him for chasing an armed robbery suspect. He had him at gunpoint at one point, got back into his vehicle, chased him to another location where two officers had him cornered, got out of his car, ran to the right around the house, and unfortunately the bad guy ran to the left. And that's what happened. So again, I don't want to put my officers in a situation where they're second guessing themselves when they're chasing an armed robbery suspect. And, you know, he was going up on people's porches. He was trying to get into different houses. So it's a true case where the public at large was at risk, and he was doing the best that he could at the time. So beyond that, if anybody has any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. But you know, we're still, the investigation is ongoing.
Thank you, Chief. Any members of the board have any questions or comments for the chief?
Thought the chief handled the interview on television very well, and it spoke well of the town of Rockland and the way you control the police department. It was very well done.
Thank you.
So I'm glad to hear that we've already outfitted one cruiser with the device, and we're looking at the others. John is, you know, over the past 9 or 10 years, you know, if there's anything that you guys need that will help, please bring it to our attention, the FinCom's attention. I think, you know, when it involves safety of the officers or the town, we'll do whatever we can to find the money. So I'm just glad to hear that that we're going to get those devices on the cruises. And great job by everyone. Everyone in our on our team, as well as all the surrounding towns and the state troopers. So thank you.
And just so you know, it's a relatively inexpensive solution, believe it or not. We had looked into sort of an OnStar solution, which we thought we were going to be able to work with, which would have been an electronic device that we could control from a desktop. But the problem with that is I don't think our insurance company would be very happy if we were able to disable a moving vehicle at 60 miles an hour so much that it didn't have steering or braking or anything along that line. So this is a much simpler device that hopefully will prevent somebody from engaging the gear. And again, I hate to sound as old as I am, but I've been here 33 years and have never seen, heard, or had an incident like this. Doesn't mean that it won't happen again, but this would be a very different conversation if the officer had walked into 7-Eleven and left his cruiser out front running. But again, this is not the case. So.
Anybody else? Any questions? Comments?
Chief, yeah, Kara, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can go.
So no, really, I just wanted to, I mean, what frankly really disturbed and has disturbed me, and I think all of us, and probably you and the men and women of your department, and on probably other surrounding law enforcement agencies. So all the Facebook armchair quarterbacks who try to assess all this stuff, from the comfort of their own homes, in the minutes, hours and days afterwards. And first of all, I just want to thank you for what you did. I thought all your words, all your remarks, how frankly you stood up for the men and women of your department right away, like in the presser, like after the incident, was just incredible. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to, thank all the officers involved, those who responded, those from other communities, the city of Quincy, the state police, and everybody. It was definitely a very tense situation. And I say that, I mean, again, I wasn't there. I'm not a law enforcement officer, but I can only imagine what was going through your officers' heads, minds, like as they were traversing, yards up in the area of West Water Street and Brookside Road, and then to have everything transpire the way it did in getting to Quincy. But, it's frankly demoralizing what we're seeing on Facebook now in terms of the critics and frankly the haters. And thankfully, I think the people who really admire and respect what our police and law enforcement officers do, I do firmly believe they outnumber the critics. And I just want to thank you for the job that you do, and the job that the men and women of your department do every day, Chief. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Kara, you can talk.
I think my colleagues have summed it up pretty well, but I also just want to applaud the officers who were involved with that incident a few weeks ago. I think they diffused the situation pretty well, and I for one am fortunate that they were there. It did happen right in the backyard of my neighborhood, so it was very quiet. Actually, didn't even hear a sound from it, but just want to say, job well done. And I also received numerous texts about the chief's press conference from local officials in surrounding towns, and they were very impressed with how the chief handled himself and stood up for our officers. So well done, Chief. Rockland's lucky to have you.
Well, I just want to say, I know we've taken enough time here probably, but I just want to say thank you for your support. And I will let each and every one of the officers that were working and went through it tomorrow morning, let them know your kind words and your support. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief. And again, similar to what the other members of the board said, I definitely would like you to, let the officers know that we are supporting them and whatever assistance they need. And I think especially in the last, couple of years, we've seen so many times where officers were called into question, and the fact that the officers that have trained under you exercise restraint when they needed to. I think that's what I was most proud of. And as far as, the police car goes, it happens. And you've not had that situation in 33 years and again. So, we appreciate how you represent the community and how your officers represent the community daily. So, so thank you. Thank you for the briefing and good luck with everything else.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, John. All right, next on the agenda, CDBG single case waiver request. Christine.
Good evening, everybody. I'll just briefly summarize the memo turned into the board. So we have a case before us now. It was actually first waiver was approved back in December of 2019 by the board. And as we worked to complete the job and ran into COVID with an extreme delay there, we found that the husband, one of the homeowners, his health further deteriorated. So we need to change our plan for the bathroom for handicap accessibility to him. And we find ourselves in need of a second waiver of the limit that the Department of Housing and Community Development allows us for each project. So that's where we're at today. So we're asking the board tonight for a waiver of $80,000. We have it accompanied by a change order. Right now, the change order is for $72,949. So the extra is just in case we run into any issues as we, again, begin to work on this new bathroom design to complete the project.
Okay, any questions, concerns from members of the board?
I don't have any, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Motion to approve the waiver.
We have a motion to approve the waiver. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yeah, second. All those in favor, Vice Chairman Nyman,
Yeah.
Selectman Ryan,
Yes.
Selectman Penny,
Yes.
and Selectman Mullen,
Yes.
and myself. Okay, Christine, it's all set.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you very much. And Mike Mullen, all the best to you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you for everything.
Certainly. Good night.
Okay, next on the agenda, we're going to go back briefly, and I'll entertain a motion to confirm the open session, to approve the open session minutes of March 16th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Vice Chairman Nyman,
I was absent. I have to abstain.
okay, Selectman Ryan,
Yes.
Selectman Penny,
Yes.
Selectman Mullen,
Yes.
and myself. And I'll also entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 23rd, 2021.
Motion to approve. Oh, second.
First and two
Thanks.
seconds by the same
Figure
person.
it out.
Doug, you can figure that however you want to. All those in favor, Vice Chairman Nyman,
Yes.
Selectman Ryan,
Yes.
Selectman Penny,
Yes.
Selectman Mullen,
Yes.
and myself. Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda, sign awning permit, tax solution 302 Union Street. Doug?
Thanks, Mike. This is pretty straightforward. There's a request from a new business located just down the street from Town Hall on Union Street because the awnings go over town property, so they need to get our approval. You have all the documentation in your packet. The building inspector signed off on it. I thought I'd just share my screen real quick so you can just see where it's located for the public's benefit as well. It's right next to the barber shop. But again, no issues. You know, everything's filled out properly, and we recommend approval.
And a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Vice Chairman Nyman,
Yes.
Selectman Ryan,
Yes.
Selectman Penny,
Yes.
and Selectman Mullen,
Yes.
and myself. Okay. Next on the agenda, capital plan, capital planning committee chairman, Rich Harris. Rich?
Hello, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Good, Rich. How are you?
All right. Real quick, you all know about the Capital Planning Committee. We take care of looking at any article that's over $50,000 or 5 years life cycle. What I shared here is the 26 articles or the 26 items that are on this year's capital plan to be executed that are scheduled for this current year, along with their rankings. I want to thank all of the town department heads for their assistance and work in meeting with our committee to create the full capital plan for the 5 years. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Any questions for Rich?
I don't have any. Thank you, Rich. This is helpful as always. One of the things I really happy about is how this planning process has been really strengthened, in my opinion, in the last 2 years. So thank you for all your efforts and that of the committee as well.
No problem.
Okay, anybody have any other questions or comments for Capital Plan Chairman Harris?
Just, I'd like to just thank him for doing the job. It's, sometimes a difficult job to figure out what needs to be done in what order, and priorities are always an important thing to set, and they do a great job. That's all I got. Doing a great job, Rich. Thank you. Tell your committee we said thank you.
Okay.
I want to reiterate both Selectman Ryan and Selectman Mullen. Rich, to you and the committee, I know what a thankless job this is, to be honest with you, and but how important it is for the town and continuing to plan for the future. So thank you to you leading this and the members of the committee. And as Mike Mullen stated, I continue to see this this committee under your leadership become more and more impactful and stronger. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Rich. And
Okay.
same for me. Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate all your hard work over there. And I know it hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of challenges over the years. And I think you've really done a nice job of streamlining the process by which capital requests come to your committee and make it back to the warrant. So for that, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Rich. All right, next on the agenda, Abington Rockland Joint Waterworks update. Superintendent Joe LaPointe. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me all right?
Perfect.
All right. We're here to give the board an update on the public education letter we sent out last week. I'm joined by Crystal Cameron, the Assistant Superintendent, and our treatment expert, and also Tara McManus from Weston and Sampson Engineers. They're the advising engineers. They're advising us on this, and they have experience dealing with the PFAS removal. Let me start by explaining about PFAS-6. It's a combination of 6 man-made compounds used in manufacturing. It's found in things like firefighting foams, moisture stain-resistant materials, Scotch guards on upholstery and carpeting, fire retardant materials like materials used in clothing or children's pajamas. Other products it's used in include things like laundry detergents, perfumes, lipstick, nail polish. It's also used in many food takeout containers back when McDonald's used to put them in all those styrofoam type things. The US banned these chemicals 30 years ago. They're still used in some imported products. PFAS is resilient, does not degrade easily. As a result, it's widely found in the environment where it migrates to the food and water supply. In October, the Mass Department of Environmental Protection enacted a new water regulation that mandated a maximum contaminant level for the PFAS-6 to 20 parts per trillion, well below the federal standard of 70 parts per trillion, which we've been running with for the last 20 years. The federal standard is still staying at 20. The state can lower theirs, at 70. The state has lowered theirs to 20. They also required all public water systems serving 10 to 50,000 people to begin sampling in April of 2021. Being proactive, the Abington Joint Waterworks started sampling in January. During routine sampling in February, the Abington Rockland Joint Waterworks confirmed elevated levels of PFAS-6 at the Hingham Street Reservoir in Rockland. This is one of our 3 entry points and sources supply our drinking water. The elevated level came back at 23.4 parts per trillion, higher than the 20 parts per trillion that the state recommends, but far below the 70 parts per trillion at the federal level. PFAS-6 levels at our other locations, Great Sandy Pond in Pembroke and Myers Ave treatment plant in Abington, were below the 20 parts per trillion. Abington Rockland Joint Waterworks has collected a 3rd sample, our March sample. This will allow us to complete our quarterly sampling and allow us to come up with a 3-month rolling average. That's the way we're regulated by DEP. Please be aware we're currently not in violation of the PFAS 6 state water regulation. However, you might receive a public notice if the third sample results in our annual average being over the 20 parts per trillion. With the elevated sample at the Hingham Street plant, we took immediate action by notifying DEP and involving our engineers to quickly develop a potential method of water treatment to remove the PFAS for a short-term possible solution. We quickly developed a treatment technique by the addition of added powdered activated carbon to try to lower the PFAS levels, and we will continue to monitor and address the PFAS 6 and will apply the best long-term solution. It's important to know we did not cause this problem, and there's no way to prevent this problem. PFAS entering our water supply is possibly from the aquifer or anything that got into the ground. Abbott and Rockland Joint Waterworks is committed to delivering safe and reliable drinking water to all our customers, and we're acting in the public's best interest and taking all the necessary steps to address PFAS 6. We're also following all DEP rules and regs and guidelines to public education and notification. This process is also new to the DEP, and it will be an ongoing problem for many other public water systems once they start testing in April. We're not alone on this, and we're being very proactive, where we tested early. So now, naturally, we're out front and the front runners on this. We're taking a very aggressive approach on this after learning about the elevated levels and implementing our short-term solution. I contacted both town accountants to get an emergency article in town meeting to purchase 2 pressure filtering vessels to upgrade the treatment plant to remove the PFAS. This would be an initial investment of $175,000 from each town, total of $350,000 just to buy the equipment. Then we have to install it and eventually house it. We're very confident that this will work. It's the same system we use at the Myers Ave treatment plant, and it removes all the PFAS. We sent out the public education letters with all the facts about the PFAS to the consumers to make their educated decision on what they think they should do. These are only our recommendations, and I would like to, we still haven't violated the maximum contaminant level. It's just a public education that we want out there. And once, if the third sample comes back high and we do violate, then DEP will give us steps to move on from there. Any questions that we can answer, we'll gladly try. But like I said, this is all new to us. It's all new to the DEP. They're treading very lightly on giving us advice. We're kind of relying on the engineers who have dealt with this in other communities. And I think that, you know, I don't want to say it publicly, but I will. I think the DEP's, I don't know if they're a little afraid to tell us what to do or guide us. They want us to make the own decisions, and then we'll move on from there.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Superintendent LaPointe?
So I got a few, so Joe, you mentioned you said short-term filtering through activated carbon, and then you mentioned the system that you put on. So is this a short-term solution, or is this potentially a long-term solution? You also mentioned that you have a similar system at the Myers plant. So does the Myers plant have elevated PFAS 6, and the filter system in place there is keeping us below the state mandated of 20 parts per trillion?
To answer the Myers Ave question, last year we developed a brand new well number 4. While developing that well, we had to do pump tests. The PFAS levels come back at 30 parts per trillion But back then, the mandate was still at 70 parts per trillion. So we were still under. We knew this was coming down. The state was talking about lowering it to 20. We petitioned the state DEP for a pilot program, which we took one of our sand filters, we turned it into a granulated carbon filter. We run all the water through that filter before it enters the system. We've had this running since October, and it's removed all the PFAS. There's 3 ports on the filter, 25%, 75%, and 100%. We test once the PFAS hits the 75%, I mean the 25%, then it moves up. So once we can tell when the filter's gonna run out, we have to replace all the carbon. That hasn't happened yet, but the pilot program is working phenomenal. We haven't had a problem in 6 to 8 months. We've been running that plant. So we are envisioning that's our long-term solution. This would be the same granulated carbon that we put in these new pressure vessels. What would probably happen is we're gonna have to run another pilot program at Hingham Street. If this works, eventually we need at least 4 to 6 of these vessels at the plant so we can have redundancy. We can replace 2 while the other 4 are working, just to make our 1,100 gallons per minute that we need to get out of the plant. This is all, we've looked ahead and we kind of have a path we're gonna follow. As far as the carbon we're using right now, we can introduce that into the water as we're doing. It's not a filter vessel type of thing. And this is only a trial. It suggested it might work. We don't know if it's gonna work, but we wanted to do something to get this, to see if we could lower it below the 20 parts per trillion. We've had it up and running probably approximately 2 weeks before we took the sample. Hopefully it'll bring us down under the 20. But you know, where it's a rolling average and the 23 came up, we'll have to get that back down to anywhere between 14 and 15 parts, which might be a little difficult to do.
If I may, Joe, just real quick, getting to the actual treatment that we're using right now. We did a lot of research. There's a lot of different types of powdered activated carbon out there right now. We did a lot of research with our engineers and looked into what the best type of, it's called PAC, was to use and apply it at the Hingham Street Water Treatment Plant in the short term. And basically what the company that we ended up going with described to us was it's the same type of media that Joe is describing that we used and that we will use in the future, we foresee using in the future in the vessels, but it's a pulverized material, so we can turn it into a slurry and add it to the water that way. So it's just like an additional thing that we add to our treatment process right now. So it applies. It's whether or not it's going to be effective enough, like Joe mentioned, to get us below the 20 because it's an average. So we're hoping it'll do the trick. We needed to do something. We just couldn't wait for the vessels to just show up, and it was going to take too long. We didn't want to wait.
So do you see any other benefit of this filtration system to the water other than reducing the PFAS-6?
I personally do. It removes organics too. So you're talking, reducing byproducts that, occur when you mix chlorine with water. So it'll actually help with that as well. So that's definitely a plus too. So for sure.
Thank you. That was it for me.
Anybody else have any questions?
I don't have any. No, thank you, Joe, for coming on here to really share what this means. I know there's been some anxiety, a lot of anxiety out in the community, and I think the information, that you, and that Miss Cameron and that Mr. McManus is here to provide tonight. I think that really provides a lot more context to the information that went out. So I just want to thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
Okay. Joe, I just, a question. Are there any grants that you're working on? Any grants that might be available for the PFAS work?
We actually just got a $199,000 grant from DEP to finish the design of the pilot program at Myers Ave, so we can design the actual finished product. I know we're talking with Tara from Weston and Sampson, we're gonna ask him if we can actually try to mitigate some of that money towards the Hingham Street plant too. I don't know if that'll fly or not. There is some DEP grants. Like I said, this is all new to DEP. And this is an ongoing problem throughout the United States. And President Biden's new package, stimulus package, there's actually $10 billion included in that for PFAS remediation through the whole United States. So there is money that's going to be out there, and we are going to pursue it. Hopefully where we're the front runners out there, we're ahead of the game, and maybe they'll give us some money to get our thing up and running, and everybody can look at as us as an example. That's what we're shooting for.
I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on tonight and getting in front of that for the residents, because there has been quite a stir of concern since the public announcement came out. But while I do have you here, there have been some concerns too that the residents have brought forth over the last year or so. I mean, we've been in the midst of a drought, obviously last month, and I'm sure you saw some pictures online of the Hingham Street plant. Could you maybe just speak to what we actually do? We have water capacity at this time, or I mean,
we're still well below where we should be right now. I'd guess right now 6 to 8 feet below we were last year at the start of the spring, which is major for us. We will not be taking off the water ban.
Sure.
And actually right now, I know the water commissioners are looking at a temporary moratorium for connections to do a supply and demand study. Our withdrawal permit says, yeah, you can withdraw 2.6 million gallons a day, but if the reservoir is empty, you're not withdrawing that. And we just haven't recovered with the weather, the drought, and everything else.
Okay. How about the capacity at the other?
Myers Ave is a well field. We should be we're doing all right there, but Pembroke Reservoir is just the same as the Hingham Street Reservoir.
Okay. When will the water commissioners be meeting for that?
I think the next scheduled meeting's April 15th.
And are there currently a lot of projects on the book? I mean, I know there's some projects obviously in Rockland. What about Abington?
Abington, there is some projects coming down the line. They haven't approached us for water yet. There's some more 40B. There's a lot of units that have approached us that we're just not going to be able to give them water at this time. That still have been calling and, asking about water availability. They can come and meet with the board. There's no moratorium on yet. But as of, right now, I would suggest we hold off any major developments.
Okay. All right. Joe, Crystal, and Tara, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Thanks for your time. Joe, we got to do this more often. We don't see you enough. So anytime you have something, I know, anytime you have something that you think might be pertinent to just even clear up, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. By all means, reach out to me, and we'll get you on. Just to control the narrative and fix it so that it's the real message that gets out there, as opposed to what we see on social media. So
yep, same here. If you need me to come on, just let me know.
Perfect. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda, Highway Department update regarding National Grid projects. Superintendent Dave Taylor, and you're on mute.
Good evening. So I'll try to be brief. So we have a couple National Grid projects that we have on the books right now. We've been working on this one for a couple of years now. And so this would be the Spring Street, Summer Street intersection, and also Beach Street. What National Grid is looking to do is, this is what they call a reinforcement project ever since the Lawrence mishap a couple of years ago. They've been, with the DPU regulations, they've been a little bit more progressive on approaching towns and municipalities on doing some conversions over. So what it is it's a capacity needed in this area, and they want to deliver it safely to the incoming residents and the residents that already have it. So what it is Spring Street right now has a 2-inch bare steel main. So that's the oldest pipe that you're allowed right now. And they're going to switch that over to a 4-inch plastic. And that goes from Domigan Drive, and that goes all the way to the intersection of Summer Street, which has been prone for leak history for the last, I don't know, I've been at the house on the corner there for 20 years now, probably 20 years. So Beach Street also has coated steel. It's 4-inch coated steel pipe, and that goes from Summer Street all the way up to Industrial Way. And they're looking to get that up to a 8-inch pipe to allow more capacity over in like the Millbrook area, Upper Beach Street, and also Industrial Way. Keep in mind the pipe on Spring Street was from 1941. And the pipe on B Street is from 1959. So these are some of the oldest pipes in Rockland. What happens with this is we go back and forth with National Grid on these projects, and we eventually agree on a number for the refurbishment of the roads. And what we do is we try to coordinate that with another upcoming project, which in this case, we wanted to upgrade the curbing and sidewalks on Spring Street, also Beach Street. And if anybody's familiar with Summer Street intersection, that was already done about 15 years ago with another previous grant. So we could tie Beach Street, Spring Street to Market Street. So it's going to be a 2-year process. It's on for the articles this year, and it's on for the articles next year as far as coordinating. The refurbishment of the road, once this is all done, we'll wait till next year, and we will mill and repave the complete Spring Street, Summer Street intersection, and Beach Street. And at the same time, year 2, we will continue Beach Street from Industrial Way all the way to the second entrance on Millbrook. So that will complete Beach Street. I know we've had some issues with the Beach Street from the peak of Beach Street all the way down to the Hanson line. So it's a 2-year process, and luckily we've got the support from everybody at Town Hall and Finance and Capital Planning, and we're going to try to make this work, and that's how we try to coordinate it with that project. The second project is Levin Road, Moncrief, Brooks. We did that last year, so that we've had to make it through one winter, and then we'll pave it this year. So that will be in July of this year. That'll be one of the first projects. And then National Grid will pay for the refurbishment of that. That's curb to curb. We'll also complete Moncrief Road, which wasn't done 7 years ago with the rest of Wyman Field. So Moncrief will be completed, and then we will also complete the walkways from Brooks Road up to Summer Street at the same time. So again, coordination, and then also it allows us another source of revenue and monies to be used for these projects. So National Grid does have a couple of other projects. We'll be working with them. There is one on tentatively for next year, French Road, Townsend area. So we'll work that at the same time. There's a couple other things I just thought I'd touch base with on National Grid as far as the double poles. I know we have issues with double poles at some of the existing projects and through town. Just so people know how that works is we call National Grid in. They swap out the poles. They swap out their wires. Fire swaps out their wires, and then we're on a await status from Comcast and Verizon. And once Verizon gets off the pole, they remove the poles. So sometimes if these take up to 2 years. So as you can see, the East Water Liberty Street intersection, we still have, there's about 5 or 6 poles. Those are supposed to be done this spring. And then we will complete that intersection and then we'll move on from there. So we have a new liaison at National Grid. We've been dealing with Dennis McCaffrey for 5 years, and now it is Kayla May. She's taken Dennis's spot. So hopefully we can keep our same rapport with National Grid moving forward. So any questions on anything?
Okay, anybody on the board have any questions for Dave?
Doing a great job, Dave.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, and just so we know, we'll have a pre-construction meeting in a couple of weeks. They'll be in about 3 or 4 weeks. They'll put signage, and then at that point, we'll also put out if anybody wants to tie into the new gas lines on those streets, they can. This would be the time to do it, because once the road's paved next year, it'll be under moratorium at that point. So,
Dave, thank you. And just all the detail and the planning, really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for the update, Dave. Appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda. Other new business not reasonably anticipated. Anything?
I have none.
Okay. Old business, final adoption of personnel policies.
Thanks, Mike. So we've talked about this several times before, and just to refresh the board's memory and those at home watching, several staff and I, especially our HR director, Stacy Callahan, Assistant Town Administrator, Jen Constable, and I have been working closely with our Labor Council to help update the town's employee handbook and turn it into a more modern personnel policies that, reflects all the changes in state law and all the best practices. And we've gone over that in detail with the board more than once. And we've put that out there with the unions, and you previously adopted it on a draft basis pending the impact bargaining that we had to go through with the unions. And to be honest, there were actually no substantive issues at all. The only clarifications that we've agreed to make through other forms of documentation is just clarifying what the hierarchy is. So obviously, if there's state law that dictates any kind of process or procedure, that we have to abide by state law. If there's collective bargaining agreements, union contracts, of course, we have to abide by those. This is really a document that kind of fills in all the gaps and holes where there is no state law that requires something and where there's not a collective bargaining agreement in place. So a couple of the unions had questions about, well, what if our contract says something different? Or, for example, what if we're in the police department and the police chief has a rule or regulation or policy that's different? So we're clarifying that all those other things take precedence. This is subordinate to that. So we're good to go, and we're recommending that you adopt this as final tonight, and then we can push that out to all employees, and I think we'll be in a better spot. I know Stacy's on the Zoom. I'm not sure if she has anything that she wants to add to this brief update I just gave.
No, I don't have anything to add. I think we've worked pretty hard on trying to fine tune it and make sure that it covers everybody. And we've made it clear in the document that it doesn't, just as Doug explained, that there is a hierarchy and that it doesn't trump the CBA, which was probably the greatest concern. So I think we're in a good spot, and obviously as things change, we'll make sure it gets updated as well. When the laws or there's any sort of policies that are updated along the way, we'll make sure that gets updated and gets sent out to the employees as necessary. But I think it's in great shape to be adopted tonight.
Thank you, Stacy. All right, I'll open up to the other members of the board for any questions or comments. But first, I do want to say, thank you, Stacy. This was one of those things that I don't even know how long ago it was. Maybe 2 years ago that we first, when we we kind of got together and we kind of realized the direction that we wanted to go as a town, and we wanted to see town hall and the business of the town to be run as such, as a business. And I think most businesses that I'm aware of have personnel policies, and we thought it was appropriate. And you've done a great job. You really just stepped up and you hit the ground running with it. And I just wanted to publicly thank you for staying with it for this time and making sure that these are policies that work for everybody, and really something that will stay with us for a long time into the future. So with that, anybody else on the board that has any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but I also just want to thank Stacy, Jen, Doug, and Attorney Jamie, Kenny, for all their hard work on this. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Rich?
So I just have a comment. So same as Kara, Stacy, Jen, Doug, Jamie, this is the next step. I think this is a vision that a lot of us had a few years ago on trying to take this town into a different and more professional direction. And I think this is the next step in that process. And I know this was a monumental task. This is not an easy thing to do for those that may not be aware. This is a massive undertaking. And I just, I want to say thank you to this whole group. I know firsthand, I'm in the process of doing it at my company. I know firsthand what it involves. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich. Anybody else? Mike, Larry, you guys good?
I'll just thank you to all, and doing a great job.
So no, I want to echo everything. I mean, I think it's very fitting that this is finalized on my last night. Speaks to all my hard work on this. Just kidding, Stacy. But thank you so much, Stacy. Yeah, to Rich's point, how we set out, and really, frankly, actually task you to bring us here. I think it was just an example of how incredible your work for the town, Stacy, continues to be. So I just want to thank you.
Hey, Mike, for the right price, might be offered to Dayton.
That's true. Consulting.
I hear consulting's a pretty good gig these days, so.
There you go.
Rich would know. All right.
Thank you, Stace.
Next on the agenda.
Mike, did we take a vote on that?
Yeah, we need to vote.
We'll adopt the policies as written, as we read tonight.
Is that a motion, Larry?
Yes,
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Vice Chairman Nyman.
Yes.
Selectman Ryan.
Yes.
Selectman Penny.
Yes.
Selectman Mullen.
Yes.
And myself. Okay.
Great job.
Okay, next on the agenda, FY22 budget update, if necessary.
I am pleased to say I do not have a budget update. The only comment I'll make is I was on another Zoom call with the state again today, where they were talking about some of the federal funds that are going to be coming to all the communities, and the state is still waiting for guidance from the Department of Treasury in Washington. So we're still waiting on guidance for federal funds. So based on all the information we have, what's printed in the warrant, I have no changes.
Doug, where are you currently on FY23?
Not very far along.
I didn't think so. Okay, next on the agenda, May 3rd, 2021 town meeting warrant update if necessary.
Yeah, so the only update is I'm still finding a couple little very minor typos, and if any of you see any typos, please email them to me and I'll continue to make those. But I do have the signature pages ready for you folks to come in and sign. If you could just look into my left at the calendar, the constable is going to be coming in early next week. So if you guys are able to come sign it sometime within the next few days, if you're able, or maybe Monday or at the latest, that would be great. But pending any other typos you guys might find, I think we're good to go. And I have been meeting with the town moderator, and we're setting up a prep meeting in advance because we do have some, substantial zoning that's on the warrant. And, given that we're still in COVID, we want to make sure all the logistics are in place. So that meeting is scheduled.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Okay, next on the agenda, other old business not reasonably anticipated.
I have none.
Next one, town administrators report and correspondence. Doug.
Thanks, Mike. I have a few items. The first is I'm pleased to announce that the fire department has received another grant. They got a FY21 firefighter safety equipment grant for $15,000. And that's specifically for vehicle extrication equipment, high-rise hose operations equipment, and firefighter fitness equipment. So I want to thank the fire department. They're always really good about pursuing every grant opportunity that they're able to get. I also wanted to let the board know that last week, the Gateway Mixed Use Overlay District, the GMOD zoning bylaw amendment that the selectmen sponsored and referred to the planning board was unanimously approved at the planning board's public hearing. And it was interesting, to my surprise, while there were a number of people from the public that were on the Zoom meeting, no one from the public spoke. There was no public input or concerns raised. So I think that says a lot about the hard work that we did working with MAPC and ultimately with the planning board to develop a good zoning bylaw. So it's on the town meeting from here. And I just want to thank Jen in particular, because she really led the effort to coordinate and kind of spearhead this project. So hopefully town meeting will be equally pleased as well. I wanted to mention to the board that I met with the Open Space Committee last night to talk about an open space acquisition opportunity that I have mentioned to the board in the past. I have formally requested input from the Board of Assessors, Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and the Open Space Committee. And so while we're waiting for those formal recommendations, the Open Space Committee would like to be on an agenda with the Board of Selectmen sooner rather than later. And they're actually hoping it could even be as soon as your next meeting. So I'll talk to Mike about that offline and see if that's something that we're able to accommodate in our agenda schedule or not. Similarly, I'll talk to Mike as well about potentially renewing our agreement and rebidding the community electrical aggregation plan. John O'Rourke from Good Energy has reached out to us because the contract with Dynegy, the current supplier, is going to be expiring at the end of the calendar year. And I had a really productive meeting with them. They answered all the questions that I had, and I think it'd be helpful to have them come into an upcoming meeting where they can explain the process to you more formally and also for the public to hear. And I would recommend continuing with the process because, again, it's just an opportunity for the community to save on their electric bills, to have more predictability in their bills. And every customer, every resident always has the opportunity to opt out. So nobody's forced to do anything. So that could be on a future agenda after I talk to Mike about that offline. Similarly, about future potential agenda items, I've mentioned before that there's a billboard request that's come in for a parcel of land owned by Mass DOT right off the highway off of, I keep saying what used to be exit 14. I think it's exit 35 now, maybe. And so while there is that one request, I also just received a new request for a billboard to be placed in a different parcel, still within the billboard overlay district, but not on that Mass DOT site. So there's two requests coming in, and the way our zoning bylaw works, there has to be a host community agreement that's executed with the Board of Selectmen. But the big point is the zoning bylaw only allows for one billboard. So we have two requests. We're only allowed to give one. So I'll talk to Mike offline about different thoughts I have about how we could handle that. And I think we'll likely need to have that at an upcoming selectmen's meeting. And then lastly, just as it relates to COVID, just for the public to know, if they haven't heard already, everyone will be eligible to receive a vaccine beginning on April 19th. The town of Rockland is continuing to request vaccines weekly. And as soon as we're able to get any supply of vaccines, our Board of Health and our fire department will be ready to operationalize our emergency dispensing site plan, and we'll push them out. But we've not received any vaccines because the state is still focusing on their mass vaccination sites and on the CVS pharmacies and Walgreens, et cetera. The only difference in the state program is for the homebound population. I've mentioned this before. There's a separate pool of vaccines from the state, and it's most likely going to be, I think, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that they are looking to target to give the towns to be able to vaccinate the homebound population. Our Board of Health and our fire department are ready. They have the plan in place. We have the list of residents. And that is something that I believe we will be getting sometime relatively soon from the state, is a limited supply specifically for the homebound population. So just to alleviate any concerns about that, as soon as we get it, we'll be acting on that. And that's all I have tonight, Mike.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, next on the agenda, Selectmen's comments. Comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board and Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. So I guess this is the Mike Mullen farewell tour. This will be the beginning, and I'll let Rich go first.
So I just want to wish Mike the best of luck. I think Dayton has made a very, very good choice. They could not find an individual who is more dedicated to public service and trying to do the right thing for all individuals. So I wish you all the best. I know our time on the board together certainly has been a little different because of COVID. In the last year, we haven't been able to be face to face. We do it over over Zoom, and I think it unfortunately I think it kind of hurt building closer relationships and bonds just because we didn't see each other that much. But your career in the town, from God, when you were a little kid, it's who started first, you or Jared, right? It was like, I think both years before you were 18 were doing things.
Yeah, we didn't know what the heck we were doing either, which is
well, you really
scares
don't.
the bejesus out of me. Yeah.
But it just says a whole lot about your character. And I remember before I even knew you, my mom was a teacher aide and had you. She used to come home and talk about, there was only 2 kids in her 10 years of being an aide. There were 2 kids that she talked about. It was yourself and Missy, and would talk about you all the time. I had no idea who you were. You were a little, just a little kid. And then as I got to know you and see what you've done, for the school, as a Board of Selectmen, but it goes beyond that. I don't think people realize the effort, the time, the passion that you need to do what you have done for your hometown. And even though you're going to Dayton, I know you said you're staying in town.
Yep.
My guess is while you're going to be a benefit for Dayton, my guess is you're still going to be a benefit for Rockland. So I just want to say thank you very much. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Vice Chairman Nyman.
Well, this one's definitely bittersweet. I've known Mike on a personal and professional level for many years. He started out as our landscaper in Hanover, I think.
Yeah, back when I had muscles.
Didn't much, but he was there. Our work continued when we worked at the State House together. Many commutes into Boston together where I took my life into my own hands driving with Mike. So
Chief, easy does it, Chief.
And then our work continued most recently in Norfolk County where I work at the sheriff's office and he was county administrator. We did a lot of work together. So, and then our work here continues in Rockland and finishes in Rockland. So Mike's been someone that I can count as a friend, as a mentor. And congratulations, Mike. I wish you well. I know it doesn't end here.
No.
I know you'll continue to volunteer in new ways for our community. So all the best, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Cal. Like, I still need to find out a way so we can harass a Laughlin, but we'll figure that out.
Mr. Ryan.
Mike, you know, watching you grow up as a boy, coming out of a solid family. You know, the parents were good people in town. They worked for the town. They volunteered, and you know, that's where you get it from. You know, your family upbringing, and it's so hard. It's almost like watching one of my own children succeed in life, because you hope that people you know and your friends of your children and the kids that you meet, that they grow up to be citizens that we can count on, and not, you know, just don't care about the rest of the world, and you know, have their own life, and that's what they focus on. And Mike, you know, made that jump to balance, like a lot of us have, our families and the profession that we're in. Oftentimes, we have to go places and do things that separate us from our families, but you know, we all balance it very well, and you've done a great job. You know, there's so many accolades that I could say, and things you know, bring tears to your eyes if you wanted to go that route, but you should be very happy that you've grown up to be a fine man with a fine family and a damn good job. And we're going to come down to Dayton one night at a meeting, and we're just going to show up, and you're not going to know we're coming. And we'll be there to sit there and admire that the work that you are doing, because we won't get to hear much about it from this day forward, because we aren't going to be seeing each other as often as we have. And I hope that we'll all sort of stay in contact, and that's where public media comes in, because we can still follow each other's lives, maybe not as closely as we once have, but for as long as we all survive and they keep Facebook on or whatever. Mike, you've got nothing but good things ahead of you. May you be happy for you. You're the man now. You know, when they say it's not Mr. Lapp, it's not Mr. anybody, it's Mr. Mullen. And Mr. Mullen's going to do a damn fine job for the town of Dayton. And, you know, 5 years from now, when they've looked around and see what you've accomplished, and they're either going to throw you out or they're going to love you more. So just remember.
Hope it's the latter. I really hope it's the latter.
I'm sure it is, because you know why? You're a very very hard person to find anything to dislike about. You know what I mean? You've got the personality and the intelligence to know how to treat people and treat them appropriately and treat them correctly. Even if we disagree with stances in public, we can still be gentlemen and ladies to each other off the field, if you will. But anyway, enough baloney from the old guy.
Thank you, Larry.
I'm proud of your son, you know,
Thank you,
because
Larry.
we're sending off a family member into the wilds of the world, and the world is a better place because of it.
Thank you very much, Larry.
Best wishes.
Okay, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mike, you know, obviously, you know, I talked to you briefly the other day, and I haven't served a second on this board without you. And It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be different. I remember,
Boring.
well, maybe more professional, but I remember we were, we were talking. I went to your event, your campaign kickoff event, when you first decided to run, and I had told you that I was glad that you ran. I said I was thinking about running myself, and in your own way, reminded me that nobody could ever beat you, and that's why nobody can run against you. You've never been challenged in any election ever, which is amazing. And maybe I'm starting to realize that maybe it's just the seat and much visual, because I don't think my predecessor ever had a challenger, and I know it's being run for unopposed now, but.
But yeah, Mr. Laughlin, I did run for school committee unopposed as well. So, and my friend Dan Biggins is on, and he hasn't had that luxury.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. You can call him out. That's okay. But I think I've said it a lot. When I think of you, Mike, I think of integrity. Honesty. You've got a really really good heart, and I know from where I sit, and I'm sure Mary as well. We went through some tough times on this board. I don't think it was anything that we thought possible when we decided to run, and the way that the bond that I think we had, I think it'll long endure. Past whatever our seats are within the positions in this town. You've been an example for I hope future generations that have watched you. Your dedication to the town. Your ideas. I mean, really, I've said it at past meetings. A lot of the great things that have happened in this town, came from you. They were great ideas. You did, Rockland Cares. You're one of the founders. You're one of the founders of Reimagine Rockland. You're one of the founders of. Well, you did the whole, 40R project. I almost said 40B, which would have gotten you killed, but 40R project. I mean, that came from you, and I don't think people have really realized the full benefit of that yet. So your accomplishments, they're many, and they'll be felt and recognized by this town for years to come. And I'll let you know. Okay, I'll say it. I'm hesitant to do so, but you got into my head a little bit. I had a late day up at the store, being my first day, and a couple customers came in after 6 o'clock, and I was late for the first executive session, and I shared it with Doug as for my reason for being late. And I was wearing a hat all day, and I said I had to go home and I had to fix my hair, so Mullen didn't say anything about a comb over. So got in my head after all these years and all your comments. But Mike, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. Dayton's lucky to have you, and I know we'll be seeing you.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike Mullen, closing comments.
Oh, why am I just choking up now? I was just joking. No, thank you, Mike, Larry, Rich, and Kara. I have a few things. I actually wrote something out, like an outline, because God only knows how I can go off in tangents like Larry, and I really don't want to do that. So, but first of all, I just want to start off by thanking my wife, Jenna, my 2 kids, Patrick and Clara. When, believe it or not, 4 years ago when I ran, no, 5 years ago, I can't even do math, that's horrifying. But when 5 years ago when I ran, Jenna and I had just actually gotten married, and it was us, and 4 years later, we have the most special little family with us, just most special little kids, and the other sacrifices we all know that our families really go through and in many ways sign up for when we decide to do this, to volunteer and to run for the Board of Selectmen. it's not only our commitment, it's the commitment of our family members and frankly their sacrifice. And I really want to thank Jenna for everything she did, all her patience with all the meetings, and and Patrick and Clara. I remember at one point a few years ago, like I was walking out for a meeting in the middle of August, and like Patrick was just like at the door, and it was heartbreaking just walking away that night. But I guess for better or worse, I went to town hall, and hopefully we did something that was like it wasn't as meaningful as it would have been if I stayed home, but hopefully we did something that night that actually meant that was worth it. And I think we have had a lot of those nights together that made it a little more worth it. But I also want to thank my parents and my grandparents as well. I know my parents are on the phone, but on the Zoom, but like as Larry mentioned, it was because of their example, and it was because of how I was brought up that I was brought up to be really community and civically involved. And this whole thing, what it's actually turned into, it didn't really happen by accident. Sometimes, it's a love-hate relationship in this type of business, in this type of world. But they really set the example for me, in terms of what it means to be involved and to give back to our community. And they've really done just incredible job, in my opinion, setting the example, and encouraging me, and really instilling in me the confidence that I needed and the support, really to do what I've done, not only as a selectman, but as a member of the school committee here, and everything we've done to volunteer. In terms of the track record of their example, my father, as we know, he was a proud Rockland firefighter for more than 40 years. Both my parents, they coached, they were involved like all of us and all of our parents, and Larry, Mary, you were as well. Rich and Patty, the same way Mike and Val are. They coached. They were involved in the packs. They were involved in the boosters. And that's how all of us were brought up. And I think it's very, and that's how the Nymans were brought up too, with Bob and Rhonda, and just as those examples. And I think it's really fitting that we're all here tonight as members of this board. But also, the example really comes from my grandfather's service to the town as well. And that service was second to none. He was the only Rockland firefighter to have lost his life in the line of duty fighting the Strand Theater fire in 1956. And, those are the examples that have really carried me, through the work that we've done together. And to our first responders, to our police and fire, I want to say thank you for all that you do, because we all know what you do, and we truly appreciate it. And I think that makes the commitment that we in Rockland show to our first responders, I think that makes us even more special. But Tim, as you mentioned, it's been a ride, and I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of what we did together for our town. But as I mentioned, based on those examples, I'm proud of how I represented my family. I represented my name, which even though he hates it, I share with my dad. And I hope to God I've made him proud, during the last 5 years and beyond. But when you look at what we've done, we begin with economic development, and Marcy's on the Zoom tonight. We led a 40-hour process. We began a conversation that really continues and is in earnest, today on infrastructure. As we know, school issues with the school department 5 years ago, they were in a whole other place, and it wasn't a healthy place at all. And together we've worked with the school department to reset those relationships. We made it through a frankly, a disaster of a tumultuous time period from Rockland, and we came out stronger than ever on the other side. And to that point, because of the crazy few years we've been through, I do want to say a few things on that. First, as a leadership that we had as a board, during those very difficult, months for our town, and that leadership really started with Marcy, setting the course, with Sue, with John Llewellyn, who was a rock to all of us, with Stacy, who was incredible as well. And then we have the two Mikes and Larry. And we became the two Mikes and Larry, and working with Marcy. Marcy was really our rock as we set out, as we made it through those initial few months. And one of the things I'm really proud about is, as we went further into that period of uncertainty, we really never lost a beat or missed a beat on the projects that we had ongoing and the projects we set out to do. And Marcy, it means the world that you were able to join us this evening. So thank you for that. I also want to thank WRPS, Dave Murphy, Chris Benica, and Lisa Breeden. They're the unsung heroes, and everything that goes into making our public meetings. And I can't say they make us look good because, well, of different type of comb overs, but they really do a good job in really making sure the public is able to access what they need to access, and that our government is actually working for the people, and we show that. And to our board, I really believe that the five of us, as I know, for better or worse, and I've paid attention to town politics basically since I could hold a sign, and I'm biased, but I really do believe that this board, the group of the five of us, have been the best board that I've ever known. I think how we work together, how we respect each other. We have had very strong disagreements, as we know. I think actually one of the disagreements we had, I might have actually said something tongue in cheek, and while Rich and I were going at it, I might have said thank you, Dad, as a just off the cuff. And Rich, I do apologize for that. That was only that was in the heat of a moment. But again, the fact that never got in our way, we were just able to move on and continue working together, I think really says everything. And besides being the best board, we really have the best professionals working for the town. Right now, Doug Lapp, and now doing what we do, doing what I do for a living, I can tell you that Doug is really considered one of the best town administrators in the entire South Shore, and we should be extremely thankful that we have Doug, and his leadership and his example for all of us. The same rings true with Jim Constable. The same with Stacy. The same with Stacy Callahan. And Sue Ide. She's just a mainstay and has been incredible in keeping everyone in line. And God knows we need. I'll have all needed to be kept in line. But so I could go on for a while, and I think you all hope that I won't. But to the residents of Rockland, I leave by saying thank you, and by also offering a challenge. As we know far too often in recent years, we've seen and we've heard naysayers and critics spout off on Facebook. They've incredulously criticized us. They've criticized other Rockland residents, other volunteers, while we try to do really good things for our town. That's not the Rockland that I know. The Rockland, that part of Rockland that part of us has become It's not the Rockland we value and appreciate and love. And we need to get beyond that. So to the naysayers, to the critics, I say enough is enough. It's actually time to stand up and step up. Like a few meetings ago, both Rich and I commented that we're only as good as our residents who get involved. And the residents who genuinely care about Rockland and who serve for the right reason. So I challenge you to get anyone at home, anyone who has thoughts, who has criticisms, who have ideas. I challenge you to get involved like I have, challenge you to get involved like we have, and to really help move the town further forward. But again, I mean, I've always been I've lived public service. I live it, I believe in it. I'm passionate about it. And to the voters, to the residents of Rockland who have supported me, who have elected me, I just want to say thank you. It's really been an honor to serve. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn and go into executive session for purpose number 1, to discuss the physical condition of an individual employee. Purpose number 3, litigation strategy, Craig Erickson versus Rockland Fire Department. Number 4, review and approval of minutes December 15th, 2020 and February 16th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion. Oh, second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Vice Chairman Nyman,
Yes.
Selectman Ryan,
Yes.
Selectman Penny,
Yes.
Selectman Mullen,
Yes.
and myself.